Have you ever wondered how someone becomes the Pope, the spiritual leader of over 1 billion Catholics worldwide? This question may have crossed your mind at some point, whether out of pure curiosity or an interest in religion. The Pope isn't just a figurehead. He's a beacon of faith, a symbol of unity, and a spiritual guide for a vast portion of the global population. His decisions and actions have a profound impact, extending beyond the boundaries of religion to influence world politics and culture. But how does one ascend to such a position? Is it simply a matter of being the most pious, or perhaps being the most learned in the doctrines and dogmas of the Church? Or is there more to the story? There's an intriguing process behind this transition, one that combines ancient tradition with a dash of modern-day politics. Well, the path to the papacy is not as straightforward as you might think. First things first, you must be a Catholic, and more specifically, a man. To understand this, we need to delve into the prerequisites for becoming Pope. The path to the papacy is not a simple one, and it involves a series of important steps that are deeply rooted in the traditions of the Catholic Church. To even be considered for the position of Pope, one must first be a baptized male. This is a non-negotiable requirement, as it has been the tradition of the Church since its inception over 2,000 years ago. Baptism is the first sacrament of initiation in the Catholic Church, and it marks the beginning of a person's journey in faith. Following this initial step, the baptized male typically becomes a priest. This is the next crucial stage in the journey to the papacy. Priests are ordained clergymen who are responsible for leading worship, administering sacraments, and guiding their parishioners in their spiritual journey. However, being a priest isn't enough. To continue on the path to the papacy, one must become a bishop. Bishops are senior members of the clergy who have been entrusted with a diocese, a geographical area of the Church. They have the authority to ordain priests and deacons, and are responsible for the spiritual well-being of their flock. Often, but not always, the next step in the journey is becoming a cardinal. Cardinals are appointed by the Pope and are considered to be princes of the Church. They are the Pope's closest advisors, and are also eligible to vote in the conclave that elects the new Pope. Ultimately, becoming Pope is not simply a matter of ambition. It's a calling that requires a deep commitment to the Church, a lifetime of service, and a sincere desire to lead the faithful in their spiritual journey. So, you see, climbing the ecclesiastical ladder is the first step on the road to the papacy. It's a long and demanding journey, but for those who are called to this vocation, it's a journey that brings with it the opportunity to serve the Church in the highest capacity. But how does one go from being a cardinal to Pope? Well, let's delve into the intricate process known as the Papal Conclave. This isn't your typical election. It's a secret meeting held within the Sistine Chapel, where the cardinals of the Catholic Church gather to elect the new Pope. The word conclave itself stems from Latin roots, cum, meaning with, and clavis, meaning key. It signifies a locked room, emphasizing the secrecy of the process. Only eligible cardinals, those under the age of 80, can participate in the conclave. This clandestine gathering operates on the principle of a 2/3 majority. Each cardinal has a vote, and they continue to vote until a candidate receives at least 2/3 of the total votes. This requirement ensures that the elected Pope is a consensus choice, representing the collective will of the Church's leadership. The voting process is steeped in centuries-old tradition. Cardinals cast their votes on paper ballots inscribing the name of their chosen candidate. They then fold the ballot and place it on a paten, a small sacred plate, before sliding it into a chalice. This ritual is performed in silence, adding to the solemnity of the occasion. Once all votes are cast, the ballots are counted and then burned. But not just burned. The manner of burning is significant too. If the first round doesn't yield a Pope, the ballots are burned with a chemical to produce black smoke. This signals to the world that a decision has not yet been reached. The process repeats, sometimes multiple times a day, until a candidate garners the necessary 2/3 majority. When that happens, the ballots are burned clean, without any chemicals. This time, the smoke billowing out of the Sistine Chapel is white, a symbolic and visible sign to the world outside. And so, the conclave ends when white smoke billows from the Sistine Chapel, signaling a new Pope has been chosen. This is the moment when the world holds its breath, waiting to hear the famous Latin declaration, Habemus Papam, we have a Pope. Now, what happens when a cardinal is chosen to be the Pope? Well, the cardinal, now Pope-elect, must first accept this monumental role. This isn't a simple nod of the head, but rather a profound acceptance of a lifetime commitment to spiritual leadership and devotion. The acceptance is followed by an age-old tradition choosing a papal name. This practice dates back to the 6th century when a man named Mercurius was elected pope. Given that Mercurius is derived from a pagan god, he chose to be known as John II, marking the start of a long-standing tradition. This papal name symbolizes the new life and identity that the chosen cardinal adopts, often reflecting the virtues and qualities they aspire to embody during their papacy. It's more than a name, it's an emblem of their mission. Once a name is chosen, the new pope is introduced to the world. And thus a new chapter of the Catholic Church begins. Being chosen is one thing, but what about the official inauguration? If you've ever wondered what happens after the white smoke rises, signaling a new pope has been chosen, then this part is for you. The papal inauguration is a grand affair, steeped in centuries-old tradition and symbolism. It is the official ceremony that marks the commencement of a new pope's reign. But it's not just about pomp and pageantry, it's a profound moment where the new pope is given the symbols of his office, each carrying a deep significance. The first of these is the fisherman's ring. Now, why a fisherman, you might ask? The answer lies in the New Testament of the Bible. The Apostle Peter, considered the first pope, was a fisherman by trade. The ring therefore symbolizes the pope's role as the fisher of men, leading the faithful just as Peter did. The ring itself is unique to each pope. Engraved on it is the image of St. Peter in a boat casting his nets, with the pope's chosen name inscribed around it. It's a daily reminder of the pope's mission and responsibility to guide the church. Next comes the papal pallium. This is a woolen garment decorated with 6 black crosses that is worn around the neck. It symbolizes the pope's role as the good shepherd, carrying the lost sheep on his shoulders. The wool used is from lambs blessed on the feast of St. Agnes, reminding the pope to lead with humility and service. These symbols, though simple, carry an enormous weight of responsibility. They serve as constant reminders of the pope's duty to the church and its followers. So, the papal inauguration isn't just a ceremony, it's a moment of transformation, where a man becomes a symbol, a guide, and a shepherd to over 1 billion Catholics around the world. The inauguration marks the official beginning of a pope's reign. It's the moment where the chosen one steps into the shoes of St. Peter, ready to lead, guide, and serve with humility and love. So, once the inauguration is over, what does the Pope do? The Pope's role is a multifaceted one, combining spiritual leadership, administration, and diplomacy. As the Bishop of Rome and the spiritual leader of the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope's primary responsibility is to lead the Church. This involves not just leading worship, but also guiding the Church's direction and teaching, and making decisions on matters of doctrine, faith, and morals. The Pope is also the head of the Vatican, which is a sovereign city-state. This means he has responsibilities similar to those of a head of state. He appoints bishops who are essentially the chief priests of their dioceses. These appointments can have a significant impact on the direction and tone of the Church in different parts of the world. On top of this, the Pope also plays a crucial role in setting the Church's doctrine. This involves interpreting the Bible, the teachings of Jesus Christ, and the traditions of the Church. The Pope's interpretations and decisions can shape the beliefs and practices of Catholics around the world. But the Pope's role doesn't stop at the borders of the Vatican or the confines of the Church. He is also an international diplomat representing the Vatican and the Catholic Church to the world. He meets with world leaders, speaks out on global issues, and works to promote peace, justice, and human rights. And let's not forget, the Pope is also a spiritual leader to more than 1 billion Catholics worldwide. He provides pastoral care, offers guidance, and serves as a symbol of unity and faith. Being a pope is not just about wearing a white cassock and living in the Vatican. It's a role that calls for wisdom, compassion, and a deep commitment to serving God and His people. So, from a regular Catholic man to a spiritual leader of billions, the journey to becoming a pope is indeed a fascinating one.